Hi, this is Tracy Armstrong. This is your Barry Buster moment. I wanted to talk to you about a word that's been on my mind, something that I think is going to help you move to your next level, that's going to help you break through limitations. You know, what we think about, that's what we put our hands to, that's what we're occupied by. And today I want to talk to you about occupation. We know the occupation is usually used in words in the military. That's going to be our occupation. We're going to go in that area, we're going to occupy it. It's going to be our occupation to maintain it. And we know if we are working in the law office or as an attorney, we're occupied, or our occupation is law, and in whatever form of law that is, and we're occupied by it, and it's our occupation. Is that really how we should be identified, by what we do? Or is it what we think and what we feel? Is all of that the same, or is it just one-sided? Is it emotional, physical, and spiritual? And if it is, how do I use it all for the occupation that I'm in? Or am I incongruent? Am I thinking and feeling certain things and I'm not busy with it physically and making money or and creating a lifestyle for that? And I want to talk to you about occupation, because there's a lot of things that need to happen in us in order for our occupation to be congruent with our passion. I think you should have an occupation that's congruent to your passion. It may not be necessary at this time. You may just need to make money. But if you can have a congruency with them both. I remember talking to a young man, and he came to me and he said, I just really want to go to my next level, but I can't go to my next level. And he had these thoughts that occupied him. The thoughts that occupied him, his occupation was that he couldn't do certain things that he wanted to do. His occupation, his money-making occupation was he was running big machinery, diggers and that kind of thing. But he really wanted to go to another level. And I said, well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to change something in you. Something has to change in you. Not what you do, but change something in you, and what you do will change. And so I just started to talk to him about the power of his thinking, the power of his speaking. And what's really challenging is that he was a stutterer. So he was feeling he couldn't do anything except for run large equipment because he was limited by his ability to communicate. So we started to change the way that he thought about himself and thought about his communication. Told him that the best way to make money is not by your physical labor, but by your ability to think and communicate. And so if we can change the way you think about your thinking and your communication, we can literally change your occupation. And within a short period of time, we were able to coach him out of stuttering completely just by changing the way that he thought about himself, not seeing himself as a laborer, but seeing himself as someone who thought for a living and made money with his thinking, that made money with his communication. So he was no longer occupied by failing as a communicator. He was occupied by seeing himself as a communicator and actually living and walking that out, and went on to manage and create great opportunities for himself in another occupation. His occupation changed when what he was occupied by changed. Now, that's important to know, that it's what you're occupied by that must change. Most people, they make 30%. If I'm going to give out some numbers, these are the numbers that I would say would be proven. Most of your decisions, 30% of your decisions are emotional decisions. What you feel, how you feel, what it gets you excited, what you're inspired to do. Then the next, I would say 60% are made by what you worry about or what you have to do. The things that you would find, these are necessary things. I can't live without them. And that's your occupation. I would say, if I could say it this way, I'd say things that inspire you and things that worry you. And then the 10% is just whatever comes up randomly. So you have 100% of your life occupied, and some of it is just empty space, random. I'm going to choose to sit down here, or I don't feel like doing this, I'm going to go over. Whatever it may be, you have these random spaces. And so that would be 10%. So if I were to tell you to readjust those. And if you would look at it in a 7-day period of time, let's readjust how you deal with your life. Number one, let's say that full week you have to get certain things accomplished, certain things done. In that full week, what you need to do is you need to figure out how you're going to plan your week. Now, I would say if you want to change your occupation, you're going to have to change what you're occupied with, and you're going to have to change what you're occupied with or occupied by, first emotional and mental. Let's say we take that 30% emotion and we give ourselves to learning and understanding ourselves, developing more in ourselves. Then we give the next 30% of that, which makes a full 60% of developing ourselves. That full 60% of developing ourselves is now my emotions are developed, my thought processes are developed, and I spend 60% of my time on personal development. What would happen to you if you spend 60% of your week on personal development? I know you're thinking, I have to go to work. I have to do things with my life. And that's true. But if you can find the time outside of your work to add to you, to build in you, even on the way to work, coming back from work, build yourself up, strengthen yourself in a big way, then you would shift. Something would happen. You would see something change in your life. Then you would say, okay, so that's 60% of your week in self-development, personal development. Then I know I'm really going to push the envelope here. What if you spend the next 30% of your week developing other people around you? So if you're at work, you're building people, you're developing people, you're training people, you're trying to communicate to people, you're building a community online, and you're building people. I know that that's 90% of your week. But if you can change the way you approach the week and think with this in mind, when I go to work, if I'm in service, I'm building people. If I go to work and I'm just not in service, I'm in some kind of just physical labor, if I can find a way to build people along the way, train someone, educate someone, do something, then I'm actually giving and I'm sowing into a new occupation, something new. And then of course 10%. I'm talking about just how you spend your time. The 10%, let's put that in, making sure that it's building and increasing income. I know that that's a strange layout, but that's how people who really want to grow handle their lives. They spend time building themselves, they spend time becoming a leader, and then they spend time doing. And that's the only way you shift. Otherwise, you spend time doing, and you spend time worrying, and you spend less time building yourself, and then you get what you just get at the end. Do it on purpose. 60, 30, 10%, you'll have 100% of your life consumed in development and developing others. You'll be a leader, and someone else around you will change and grow. And I guarantee if you serve the world well, the world will serve you. If you serve other people, there's going to be a reciprocation back to you, and you're going to step into the increase that you always want. And so I just want to encourage you to do that. Now think about this. My last thought is this. We just are getting out of football season. Football season is interesting because you'll watch a 3.5 hour football game. 3.5 hour football game. Now we think that we're actually watching football. We're watching people play football for 3.5 hours. But what it shows, the average 3.5 hour football game, there's only 11 minutes out of the 3.5 hours that the ball is actually in play. 11 minutes. That's a lot of time. So let's think about what happens in a football person's life. They spend 6 weeks, they spend 6 days a week. They spend 6 days a week preparing for a 3.5 hour game to move the ball only 10 to 11 minutes. So that's that breakdown I was telling you. 60, 30, 10%. The 10% is what we get paid for. But it's really the fact that we do the preparation, we do the exercise, we get in there and we work out. That's a lot of the time. That's 60% of a football player's time. Mental game, watching it, studying their opponents, getting into the physical game, getting ready on that day, that playoff day, that game day, getting in there, making it happen, making things happen, becoming a leader on the field, actually functioning in your role. And then the 10% really that I'm making money on, that they're making money on, that they're getting millions of dollars on, is really the 11 minutes that ball is moving. And that's what we actually pay them for when we buy a ticket. It's amazing what happens because we think we're at a 3.5 hour game. But the fact is we watch people jump, we watch band play, we watch things on the screen, we watch all kinds of activity around. We think we have been engaged the whole time by football, but we've been engaged by entertainment. Can I tell you, if you just shift a little bit, work on the revelation of working on yourself, then working on people and in your work, but really understanding that 10% that really makes you the money that you're going to make. If you can hone in on all of that, your life is going to change. Your occupation is going to change. You become what you're occupied by. Your occupation becomes what you're occupied by. Develop yourself, increase. I'm looking forward to next time. This is your Barrier Buster. Don't forget to download your Barrier Buster app. Don't forget to go to barrierbusters.rocks if you want to get more. And join us on Facebook. There's going to be lots of more information coming your way. We'll see you next time. This is Tracy Armstrong.